Hey friends, this is Anthony here at Miami Beach, and I'm indoors right now at the moment. It's about 2:30 in the afternoon here on the beach, 71st Street, close to Collins Avenue. And the reason why I'm inside is because it's incredibly noisy outside. And this is typical of not just Miami, but in most of the cities I've been to in my life. I'm talking about New York, Bangkok, Singapore, so many different parts of the world, Thailand, parts of Thailand besides Bangkok. Right now I'm hearing, beeps and horns and traffic right next door. And if you're not indoors, you're numb. You become numb to these noises. One of the reasons why I wake up in the morning so early, 2 or 3 in the morning, to just go on a run, a 2 or 3 hour run, 14 or 15 miles, is to feel invigorated again, feel energetic, feel less numb and dumb, less pollution, less vibrations in the air, just frequencies that constantly are battling our senses. And it leads me to this video. This video is something that I've wanted to do for a while, and I've just put it off because it comes off kind of negative, and I don't have a structure, so don't expect me to have a well-planned method of projecting this. But in this time that you're watching this video, I want you to just take account of where you're at, what you're doing, what's around you, and what affects you. It's kind of like why I used a basic scientific method approach to find the path I needed to restore my health, to restore not just my body's health, but my senses, my mind, my compassion, my heart again. And you're not going to find a diet or a lifestyle that's going to improve compassion or emotions or connectivity. Yoga is not going to make you more compassionate, more peaceful, or more loving if I'm still swallowing the remains, the carcasses of dead children that have been tortured, mutilated, beaten, raped, and caged. It's just craziness, So that's what led me to the conclusion of my path. And you're going to make your own decision on your path, which is fine. But I want you to take accountability, once again, to where you're at, what you're doing, what you're putting into your mouth, what are you going to put into your ears, your eyes. I mean, we are absorbing information at an astounding rate, and we're not absorbing, or at least I'm not absorbing, the most nourishing information, let's say, the most nourishing data, the most nourishing food. Whatever we absorb is either food, it does us benefit, or it's poison, toxic, it does not do us benefit. It's a very simple approach. So many times we're criticized for looking into the sun, for being outside in the sun. Hey, be careful, the sun will cause cancer and this and that. And yet, how many hours do we spend looking at a screen? I mean, that's bizarre that no one says that. Hey, you're in front of electromagnetic frequencies that are man-made. They may, most likely, contribute to some damage to your health. But instead we say, hey, you're around nature, that's going to hurt you. I mean, how crazy is that? We put suntan lotion, totally man-made toxic stuff. It absorbs into our skin, absorbs into our bloodstream, and causes damage to our liver and the rest of our bloodstream. And that we put on our skin willingly? That's just craziness. So we have to ask ourselves, what do I put around me that distracts me, that numbs me, that destroys me? And you're going to find your own conclusion and realize that maybe it's not eating healthy that's causing me illness and injury. It's maybe me absorbing things that are causing the injury and illness. I mean, you watch a TV show, a movie, or music, and listen to it. Yeah, the beats might be attractive, the sounds, the explosions might attract you, but look at the general message. Step back for a moment and see what they're trying to teach you. I've watched movies, I don't live under a rock. I watch movies here and there because it might just not be the most popular thing out there, but sometimes I can find some things, some messages that are inside it. And what I find more recently is these movies that have been coming out in the markets is a trend to dehumanize, to remove our connection from compassion and love. I mean, even comedies, play comedy on the death and mutilation of people. That's funny. We used to call it slapstick, but Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny getting shot in the face with a shotgun by Elmer Fudd or something, or an anvil to the head. Those things we get conditioned and trained that's funny. Same thing with a lot of the movies nowadays. There's a lot of slapstick when people get hurt and injured, and we think that's funny. We teach to our kids the cartoons and so forth, and we become an adult that we thrive for that. We enjoy the violence. And if it's not violence, if there's no violence in a movie or a film or a story, we feel cheated. We feel, man, it could have been better if such and such were killed or hurt or whatever. I mean, these are things that we brainwash ourselves. We've been brainwashed, and now we continue the brainwashing activity. So we allow ourselves, I allowed myself, to be distracted. Being in Miami Beach, I might be at the beach, but I can't tell you how many times when I'm at the beach, someone is smoking a cigarette. So I smell the smell of perfumes, and I listen to the sound of radio that I don't need to be listening to. It's like we have less consideration of everything around us. And you think about it, if it's causing me a distraction to the peace, to the nature, to the sun, to the sounds of the ocean, I can't even imagine the distraction, the destruction it's doing to, to living beings that, they have no reason to be disrupted. Birds, insects, whatever it is, that has to affect, their sensitive hearing. So what I'm putting out here, what I'm sharing with you, is take a moment to look around you, at your desk, at your home. What kind of detergents are around you, what kind of distractions are around you, and realize that when you remove these distractions, and yeah, beliefs are a distraction. A religious belief, Christianity, is a distraction. Anything that stands between you and someone else, or you and God, you and the universe, whatever, you and nature, is a distraction. And you have to remove those things to enjoy, the beauty, enjoy love, enjoy connection, enjoy compassion, passion even. You're not going to find any of those things in books and literatures and fairy tales. You got to do it by being active. And that's the point of this video here, is to share with you, remove things that are distracting. Even as a vegan, it's so easy to be lured into eating vegan pizzas and vegan burgers and vegan hot dogs and this vegan lifestyle. And the word vegan, I mean, it's crazy that we have to live with a word that says vegan, that says, hey, I don't want to continue contributing to harm to cows, chickens, pigs, fish, and so forth. Yet I'm consuming substances that that require the damage or destruction of the planet. When we can easily just eat fruit or try to eat wild fruit when we can. The more petroleum-based resources we're using, or the more water we need to consume these substances we shouldn't be consuming in the first place. I mean, that should give you a hint, a clue, that you can't consume rice without cooking it. You can't consume, wheat without cooking it. So many things we can't consume without cooking it. Just put it aside. You don't need to eat that stuff. You don't need to behave that way. You don't need to cause damage. Yeah, you can afford it, but can the life afford it outside you? Can the animals afford, more petroleum in in the air? That's just crazy, man. The amount of damage we do, disconnection, because of our disconnection, because of our numbness. We don't need certain things. What I'm asking you to do is for you to find yourself. You have to remove everything that is not of you. And when we remove things that are not of you, we start removing things that are between ourselves and someone we care about. We start removing things that are between ourselves and ourselves, things that are clouding us, whether it be a TV, a distraction, a movie, radio, an expectation. We start having an inadequacy. For men, for a child, I used to play with toys, very muscle-bound toys, or watch these superheroes with big muscles and everything. These people, these actors, are a product. They're a product of an image, and that image requires me as a young boy to want to be that image. And when I become a young man, I realize I can lift weights as much as I can, but I can never be as swollen or inflamed at these levels, or compete in the athletic levels that are portrayed. And that requires young men to start taking substances, substance abuse. They start taking steroids and muscle enhancements or whatever, things that inflame us, even certain foods. For women, it's the same thing. You watch a movie with a woman with a certain nose, a chin, certain body frame, and they start doing things that are very damaging. I find it very destructive for anyone who's flaunting their plastic body, their body that they paid someone to cut up and mutilate their bodies. Now, if they had a dog or a cat, and they put silicone inside a cat or a dog, you would think that's absurd. So how much different is it for us to do that to ourselves? This body is an animal. It has every law that applies to an animal. Anything that you do to an animal is going to apply to our body. We encage it, we thrust our violence upon it. It's just crazy to do this. If we release our animal body away from all these cages and restrictions and violence, we start seeing that the body starts giving back to us in different manners. And it's beautiful when we start loving ourselves. When we start loving ourselves, perhaps that when we do find someone, or if they're in our life right now, we should see that mutual embrace. We should see that mutual nourishment and nurturing, between two people, or in your family and your friends. You see groups of people encouraging life and love. But what I find is oftentimes myself or others, we're challenging, we're fighting for our beliefs. And our beliefs be Christianity, for some people be Islam, or for Hindus and so forth, or Krishna. They want to say that their belief system is the one true belief, one true idea. And yet I look around, and oftentimes they're suffering. Physically they're suffering. Mentally you could see it, and emotionally they're so disconnected. Um, so what I've found out is by removing the things that stop us from appreciating ourselves, stop us from experiencing life fully. I mean, that's huge. I mean, right now, if I were out there, and I will be outside again, but it's so quick, so easy to be so distracted and so absorbed by the ideas and thoughts and fantasies of others, or even the simple noises, distract the body so quickly. It takes a long time of transitioning to remind myself and to realize, like, wow, that's not natural in any way. It's a very destructive mannerism. That's very destructive to always want something that is at the cost of others. And so that's the whole point of this video, is taking accountability of anything that's in your life that causes distraction and destruction to another person, including yourself. And you start removing things you don't need anymore. You start realizing things that you do need. Remove things you don't need, you start realizing things you do need. Whether it be video games, whether it be computers all the time, Facebook, social media. I try to use the Facebook and the Instagram, not to justify it, but I try to use it as often as I can to help promote veganism, to promote atheism, basically the removal of religion, the removal of all animal substances. That's as basic as it be, removal of violence. And if I can encourage other people to remove violence, I shouldn't need social media anymore to use that as a platform. I should be traveling and speaking and helping people to stop being people that cause harm to others. So in closing, I just want you to take a moment to think about that and talk to yourself. Listen to yourself and ask yourself, do I need this to live? And if I don't need this to live, why do I have it in my life? Why am I paying for it? Because if I don't need it to live, what it's doing is causing me harm. Why am I paying to cause myself harm? Why am I paying to restrict myself, to restrain myself, to hurt myself? Why am I paying a cable bill, a phone bill, a certain, whatever bill it is? Why am I paying for things that I really don't need, that just cause me more of a burden, that hurt me, that hurt others? And when you start doing that, including, gas mileage, why am I driving everywhere? Why am I going there like this? I love to run. If I'm going to go to a store, pick something up, which I don't really like going to the stores. I like, here in Miami Beach, there are some date palm trees, so I love harvesting some dates, from deglet dates. Unfortunately, they're not all ripe, so sometimes I do have to buy a few things from the store. But the whole idea is that we remove that which we don't need, we start seeing we do need, what we do need. And for me, I like taking my clothes off on the beach, swimming in the water, letting the sun enter my entire body, and giving it permission to enter my entire body, because that's all pretty much, I feel, the universe, the earth, land, nature, that's all she wants to give to us. She wants to nurture us. She wants to love us. And anything between myself and her love is just a distraction, a destruction, an obstruction. And so this is how I like to see myself, giving myself to another person, giving myself to life, my purpose. I want to share and teach other people to realize that when they remove things that they don't need, they start feeling connected to everything they do need. Thank you very much for your time. Aloha.